Like, there is no way this doctor just said that to me. Like, how? What? Like,
wishing that I could run away with you. Imprisoned by fear, just pull me away, pull me away. Secret fantasies of me. Will they ever see the light of day, light of day? I don't know where you are, but I will find you. I will find
you. 45 degrees in Minnesota on Christmas. Story time. So I had a freaking nightmare of a time at the clinic because of this thing. You were late. By the way, Alex is right there. So basically it started out with my workplace wanting to request a doctor's note that just basically says that I can benefit from the use of a service dog. That's it. That's basically all it is. That's all it needs to be. So I was like, yeah, I have a doctor's appointment anyways. So, I'll just go and request a doctor's note. And, they just have to write it. And we'll be good. We'll be done. Well, I'll be out of there.
Sounds easy, right? Nope.
Yeah, basically. So this wasn't my normal doctor I go to. It's not my primary. It's like, if you want to call it secondary, this is my secondary doctor. I've talked to this person for a few things, but not like major things at all. So I go in and I was doing, my normal appointment stuff that I was originally there for. And I was like, yeah, I also want to request a doctor's note for having a service dog. This doctor, the first thing they said was, well, how do I know your dog's actually trained? And I was like, well, that would be technically a separate issue. Basically, it's not referring to her exactly. It's just saying that I can benefit from the use of a service animal for blah, blah, blah conditions. So basically, it's just saying in general, like if I did get a service dog. It's not saying for her specifically, for Hazel. This doctor starts talking about like emotional support. I was like, what is this person talking about? And this doctor, I was like, okay, what are you talking about? Like, I'm like kind of confused. And this doctor says, well, because you have anxiety on your records, that means it's for anxiety, right? It's just emotional support. I'm like, no. No. So then I'm like, no, Hazel's not for anxiety. I mean, she can do anxiety tasks and stuff that may help me, but she's not for anxiety. And so the doctor was like, okay, what is she trained for? And I start listing off things. Like, I was listing like 10 different things, like back to back, of what she's trained to help me for. And this doctor was like, well, if it's not on your records, that means that's not a thing. Like, you can't experience those things if it's not on your record. I'm like, what? Like, according to this doctor, you can't experience symptoms of something until you have a diagnosis of that thing. But how are you supposed to get a diagnosis if you don't have symptoms of the thing? What? I started explaining, more and more. And this doctor was like, well, that sounds just like anxiety. I was like, no. Because I started mentioning things like mobility assistance, cardiac alert, like things like that. And this doctor was like, oh, that's just anxiety. I was like, okay, so...
Anxiety doesn't make you not walk, genius.
Yeah, I know. Dude, I have, like, literal, like, partial leg paralysis that's not technically diagnosed yet. That's why it's not on my record. because I don't have a full diagnosis because I can't figure out what's wrong. All of my tests come back clear. And I was like, I started thinking, I'm like, is this person really saying that someone in a wheelchair that can't walk, they can't walk because of anxiety? So if someone is diagnosed with anxiety and they're paralyzed, that paralyzation is only because they have anxiety, according to this doctor. So I'm like, just really freaking confused on what's going on. And so I'm like, trying to figure out what this doctor is like talking about. But then I started talking about like my cardiac issues and stuff, and I kind of explained what's going on, and I explained how Hazel is trained to detect and alert to those things, to like my heart rate and stuff. And this doctor, straight up, word for word, said, that's impossible for a dog to detect your heartbeats. It's very much possible, because dogs have way better hearing, way better smell, senses, all of that stuff. And a dog is literally able to tell, because through saliva or sweat, when someone's heart rate rises or lowers. Same with diabetes, it can be the same. So when someone's when someone's blood sugar raises or lowers, they can give off a scent through the saliva or sweat, and the dog is able to smell that and alert. So when my heart rate goes up, I can give off a certain smell through my saliva and sweat, and a dog can hear the certain heartbeats. So the dog is trained that, hey, when you hear rapid heartbeat or irregular heartbeat, you alert. It's like, I get that you don't know how to train a service dog. Like, yeah, that's understandable. That's fine. But don't try to like dismiss or like disregard like Hazel's training and stuff because you don't believe in it or you don't think that's real when it 100% is. So according to this person, because cardiac alert dogs aren't real and that's impossible for them to do, that means diabetic alert dogs, drug sniffing dogs, they're trained the same way. They smell a certain smell, they alert, they get rewarded. It's the same thing. When they do the right thing or when they alert, they get rewarded, and that's how you train that certain dog. It's the same thing. So this person, this doctor, is just disregarding just all of those trained dogs. Every trained dog that's trained in smell or hearing, no, they're not real. And then, so I was starting to get really PO'd here. This doctor doesn't know what they're talking about. And I wasn't able to even speak. I wasn't able to show anything, say anything. This doctor just kept rambling on, would not let me talk or explain anything. The first things I can get out of my mouth after the doctor said that it's impossible for dogs to know how to do cardiac alert stuff, I was like, well, I owner trained her, so this is how you do it and stuff. The dog is trained to sense my heartbeat and she'll alert to it. And this doctor, again, word for word, this doctor said, oh, well, your dog's owner trained, that means it's emotional support. It's not a real service dog if it's not trained by a professional. I was like, I have met some pretty uneducated people before, but for a healthcare provider to say these things, that's where I draw the line. This is not real. Like, yeah, okay. I understand, you might not know how to train a service dog, but you should know the basic facts about anything. But this doctor ended up saying, they started talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I was like, yeah, you should look it up. This doctor told me, you should go through the Americans with Disabilities Act website and certify your emotional support dog there. And I was like, huh? Like, this person did not just tell me to do that. Like, there is no way This doctor just said that to me. Like, how? What? Like if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, that's not real. There is no such thing as a certificate or registration website, especially through the ADA, because the ADA actually says that those things aren't real. So I'm like, so just in a rage, I just told this doctor, well, that's illegal. And this doctor was like, well, I don't know what to tell you because I'm not going to write you a doctor's note. So, and that was it. And the doctor just left. So yeah. If anyone else has had like a really bad like doctor's experience with their service dog, like I want to hear about it in the comments and stuff. Like, I also don't know what to do after this because I never got a doctor's note. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. So one more thing that this doctor told me is that, so if you guys know, I have a like a wrist monitor thing. It detects heart rate and blood sugar. And my doctor told me that those are not accurate because they don't check in real time. And that smartwatches are the most reliable thing. But this doctor said like any like heart rate monitor thing is not accurate. Because if it's not real time, you know, it doesn't tell you constantly what your heart rate is, then it's not accurate. Even though I've brought it to some other doctors and they've said that that's one of the most reliable sources. So, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. If you guys want more story times or rants or something, just let me know. I have a lot of rants.